Hello and welcome to this exam 1 review video. I'm just gonna go ahead and work my way through this review packet that I handed out to you guys on Monday. Like I had mentioned in class, the key is already up on Canvas if you just want to look at that. But I didn't work out my math in detail there. So this video is supposed to be in addition to the key if you need help understanding how I got the answers that I did. So let's go ahead and get started here. As always, I will always ask you the 6 rights of medication, especially as we are getting closer to checkoff day. So triple D, PRT, right? We have drug, dose, documentation, patient, route, and time. All right. How many times is the nurse legally responsible to check the rights of medication administration to ensure patient safety? The answer here is 3. So each time you're getting ready to give medications to a patient, you're supposed to look at your MAR, then you're supposed to compare the medications to the MAR, and then as you're popping your meds into the cup, you are supposed to look at the medication again, and that's your 3rd check. Okay? Nurse is preparing Seroquel. How do the Tallman letters QUE assist the nurse in safe medication administration? So I took a variety of answers here, but what I'm looking for is sound alike, look alike, or however you explain it will usually work for me as long as it is something along these lines. Okay? Abbreviations for the following terms. So before meals is AC, after meals PC, as needed PRN, and immediately STAT. Okay. Let's convert some times. So 0930 is just 9:30 a.m. 6:45 p.m. is 18:45. 1930, 7:30 p.m. 9:45 p.m. is 21:45. 3:27 a.m. is just 03:27. 1300 is 1 p.m. My favorite one, midnight or 12 a.m. You can do either 4 zeros or 2400. Doesn't matter. So, like I said, if you're converting from military time to the 24-hour format, I want you to write the AM or PM in your answer. Otherwise, I don't know if you actually know, right? And when you're going from 24-hour format to military, we don't put colons and we don't put AM or PM, okay? If you're struggling figuring out what's what, I suggest you take a look at the book. It lays it out for you. The easy way to figure out what's what, if you're trying to do from military time into 24-hour format, is like take any number. So like 23, for example, right? You minus 12, and that's going to tell you that that's 11. Okay? So that's how you know what's what. Okay? I'm just going to erase this. All right. Let's go ahead and keep going. So which of the following is an example of an appropriate order? So what I'm looking for here is B, right? Because technically, per the book, any variation of QD is not I guess, appropriate abbreviation or whatever. They don't want us to use it because I guess it's confusing. So technically, we're supposed to write daily. I'm not sure how many people actually do that. QD, I think, is still used a lot. So anyway, daily is what I'm looking for. So on the test, I might even like change the name of the med or change the dosage. Like, it doesn't matter. You're looking for daily. Okay? All right, let's do some conversions. So as always, I like to start with what I'm looking for. In this case, it's milliliters, right? On the other side, I also have to have milliliters. I know that 240 milliliters is 1 cup, and I know that because I have it on my conversion sheet. Okay? And then we multiply by 4 cups, which is our order in this case, right? And we should get 960. Okay, 960. Number 8, again, looking for milliliters. I know that I have 15 milliliters in 1 tablespoon. And I know that from my conversion sheet. And then we multiply by our order. And we will get 37.5. Okay. Number 9, again, looking for milliliters. I know that 30 mils is 1 ounce. Again, that's just coming directly from my conversion sheet. And then 184 ounces is my order. Okay. So answer here is 5,520. Okay. All right, here we're looking for pounds. And from my conversion sheet, I know that 2.2 pounds is 1 kilo. And then we multiply by the weight. And I just write PT for patient. And so this is 63.8, which, let me just double check. I think that's already rounded. No, okay. So it's just 63.8. Okay. Here we're looking for teaspoons. I know that there's 5 milliliters in a teaspoon, and I know that from my conversion sheet. Oops. I did that backwards. Okay. 1 teaspoon is 5 milliliters. Okay. And 137.2 is my order. Okay. So then we'll just divide 137.2 by 5. And we get 27.44, right? But up here, if you remember, I said if necessary, round to the nearest tenth. So I'm just gonna leave my answer as 27.4. Okay. And then last one here, so we're looking for kilograms. We know that 1 kilo is 2.2 pounds. We have 125 pounds for our patient. And so let's go ahead and divide. So the answer my calculator gives me is 56.8181, and it keeps going, right? Again, I just have to round to the nearest tenth, so I leave it as 56.8. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and keep going. All right, so we got a lot of I&O questions here. Starting with number 13, I'm gonna make my table that I like to make to keep myself straight. All right. So let's see, we have 180 of apple juice, right? 120 of milk, 240 of coffee, 120 of Jell-O, 120 of ice cream, and 240 of tea. And then our patient voids 340, 220, 440, and 300. Okay. So when I add up my intake side, I get 1,020. And then when I add up my output side, I will get 1,300. Okay. Let's keep going. We have number 14. Again, I'm just gonna start exactly the same way with my table. Okay. Looks like this patient has some fluids running, so I'm gonna write 125. And I'm gonna write 12 because this is a 12-hour shift, right? We're working 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And this is running continuously, right? And there's nothing in the problem that tells us that it was stopped at any point. So we're just gonna assume that it ran for the whole shift, okay? That's part of our intake. Then the patient also has 180 of juice, right here, 120 of coffee, 80 of ice cream, 360 of a soft drink at dinner, and then they also have 8 ounces of water. So I'm just gonna squeeze that in here. And from our conversion sheet, I'm just gonna write that 8 ounces is equal to 240 mils. Okay. Let's see, patient voids 4 times, so we have 440, 280, 200, and 450. Okay. So now I have to add up my intake side first. I'm just gonna make sure that I don't get myself confused with the 8 ounces. So I'm just gonna put a strike through it. That way I know. And then I'm also gonna figure out what 125 times 12 is. And that's equal to 1,500. Okay? So then we'll have 1,500 plus 180 plus 120 plus 80 plus 360 and then plus 240. And that's gonna be my intake, which is 2480. 2480. My output, just add these 4 up, and it's gonna be 1370. Okay. So on the test, please remember, some of you made this mistake on the quiz, right? You caught the 125, but it's per hour during your 12-hour shift, so you have to multiply it by 12. Okay? Let's move on to this one. Again, starting the same. All right, so this one is all in household measurements, so we're gonna have to convert a lot, but for now I'm just gonna write it down as it is. So I have 2 cups, 8 ounces, 1 cup, 6 ounces, half a cup of broth. I'm just going to write it in decimal format. 4 ounces of ice cream. And that's it for my intake. My output, 120, 200, 240, 400, and 320. Okay. All right, so from my conversion sheet, I know that 8 ounces is 240 mils. That cup is also 240, right? So if 240 is 1 cup, then 2 cups must be 480, right? You just multiply 240 by 2. Okay. The 6 ounces is a little harder, so I'm just gonna set it up in my dimensional analysis way. So I'm looking for milliliters, right? And I know that 30 mils is 1 ounce. So then I multiply by 6 ounces. Right, and we'll get 180. Okay. Half a cup. So if 1 cup is 240, then half of 240 must be 120, right? And then if 8 ounces is 240, and we're looking for 4 ounces, which is half of 8, then we're doing half of 240 again, which is again 120. Okay? So now when I add up everything that's on my intake side, so 480 plus 240 plus 240 plus 180, and then plus 120 and plus 120 again, I'm going to get 1380. On the output side, just add these up again, and you'll get 1280. Okay? Please be careful what you're punching into your calculator, because I've seen it a lot of times where students will have the correct answer on their what's it called? Scratch paper. But then somehow when they punch into their calculator, they get a different number, and that's what they write down for their test answer. So please be careful with what you're punching into your calculators. Do it twice, at least. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on. All right. So here we've got one of those scheduled things. Let's see, we're working at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and this is our schedule. Okay, so I'm gonna write it out as I like to do. So write 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5 p.m. Okay, and so each time, I'm just gonna use a different color. Each time I give them 4 ounces of Glycerina, right? Plus 2 ounces of water. Okay. So 4 plus 2. 4 plus 2. And 4 plus 2. Right? So 4 plus 2 is 6, right? So you're giving a total of 6 ounces each time, and you're doing it, right, 4 times during your shift, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So this becomes 6 times 4, which is 24, right? During your shift, you gave them a total of 24 ounces. Don't forget the ice pop, right? So this is another plus 3 ounces for their intake. So their total becomes 27 ounces. Okay? let's figure out how much that is in milliliters. So right here, I'm gonna do X ml. I know 30 mils is 1 ounce. I have 27. Okay. And so when I do 30 times 27, I'm gonna get 8 to 10. And that's my intake, 8 to 10. Okay. My output. So chest tube counts as output, right? We have 120. And then we have 1.5 liters of urine, but this has to be in milliliters, right? So you can do a quick multiplication, 1.5 times 1,000, and you'll get 1,500, right? If you want to see in dimensional analysis, it's going to look like this, right? From your sheet, you'll know that 1,000 mils is 1 liter, and then you multiply by 1.5, and you'll get 1,500, okay? So 1,500 plus 120 is going to be 1,620. And that's our answer for the total output for this patient. Okay. Let's go ahead and keep going. Here I'm gonna draw my I and O table again. Let's see. So they're nothing by mouth, right? So they're not eating or drinking anything. They're receiving some fluids, which none of this actually matters to you, right? All you care about is how much and how fast their fluids are going. So you have 125, and again, we're gonna assume that they're running for the whole shift, so it's 125 times 12 for their intake. And then they void 3 times, so let's see, 320. 480 and 320 again. Okay. So 12 times 125 is 1,500. And then once you add these up for your output, you're gonna get 1110, or sorry, 1120. Okay. Number 18. Again, I'm just gonna draw my I know table. All right, and we've got 180 of cranberry juice, 240 of milk, 240 of tea, 90 of Jell-O, 120 of ice cream, and 240 of coffee. Our output, I have 120, 240, 260, 340, and 200. Okay? So when I add up my intake side first, I'm gonna get 1,110, 1110, whatever. Or output 1160, 1,160, whatever floats your boat. Okay. Let's move on. Again, we have another scheduled one here. So let's see, we got 8 a.m., 2 p.m., 8 p.m., and 2 a.m., right? Question is telling you that you're only working at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? So we only care about those first 2 administrations, right? So we don't care about this and we don't care about that. So at 8 a.m., you're going to go in and you're going to give 8 ounces of Pulmocare, followed by 4 ounces of water, right? 2 p.m., you're going to go back in. You're going to do the same thing, 8 plus 4. Okay? 8 plus 4 is 12, right? We did it twice during our shift, so times 2. So we gave a total of 24 ounces. Okay. Again, don't forget about the ice pop, another 2 ounces for a total of 26 ounces. Okay. I'm going to figure out how much that is in milliliters, right? We multiply 26 by 30. We get 780. Okay. So here our intake is 780, right? For output, we don't have to calculate anything. It just tells us that the Foley was emptied of 800, so your output is 800. Okay. All right, keep going here. All right, for this one again, I'm gonna need my I&O table. I've got 4 ounces of milk, a cup of coffee, cup of tea, a 3-ounce pudding, 3/4 of a cup, or in decimal format, it's just 0.75. And then 6 ounces of ice cream and 480 of water. Okay. Patient voids 3 times, 240, 400, and 540. Okay. All right, so we gotta convert all these household measurements to milliliters again, or at least some of them, right? From our conversion sheet, we're gonna know that 1 cup is 240, right? 4 ounces, we can just do dimensional analysis if you would like, right? 30 is 1 ounce, and then you multiply by 4, right? And it's gonna give you 120. Okay. 3 ounces, we can do the same thing. So we'll do 30 times 3, right? Which is gonna give us 90, right? For 0.75 of a cup, I think it's just easier to do dimensional analysis. So you know that there's 240 in 1 cup, and then you multiply it by the 0.75 cup. And what you'll get will be 180. Okay. So 6 ounces down here is also 180, right? And all we do is right here, if I just change the 4 ounces to 6, right? And this becomes 30 times 6. So this is 180. Okay. So now to figure out my input, I have to add everything together, right? So this is the 480 of the water that they drink with their meds, right? 480 plus the 120, 240, 240, 90, 180, 180. So when you add all of that up together, it will be 1530. Okay. Output, add these 3 together, 1180. Okay. Let's keep going. Again, I'm gonna set up my table. Let's see, we've got some fluids running at 100, and they're gonna run for the entirety of our shift, so for 12 hours. We have 120 of juice, 240 coffee, 120 ice cream, 240 milk, and then half of the water in their 900 ml water jug, right? So do a quick math, 900 divided by 2, 450. So I'm gonna write 450 down here. Okay, output 340, 480, and 540. Okay, so 12 times 100, 1200, right? And then we'll add up the rest of these intakes and we'll get 2370. Okay, add these three outputs for 1360. Right, and that's it for this one. Let's keep going. Again, setting up my I&O table. This patient is, again, nothing by math. They're just getting some fluids. Again, none of this is important to us. We just need to know their rate, which is 150. And we're going to assume it ran for the whole shift, which is 12 hours. Okay? Patient voids 4 times, 260, 380, 160, and 320. Okay? So 12 times 150, 1800, right? And then you add up the 4 outputs and you'll get 1120. Okay? All right, we're almost done with these. All right, we have another schedule one. I'm gonna write it out. 8, 12, and 4. Okay. Looks like I'm working a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. shift, right? So then I'm not worried about this, or this, right? At 8 a.m. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna give them 6 ounces of Glycerna, followed by 3 ounces of water. 12 p.m. I'm gonna do that again, 6 plus 3. 4 p.m. I'm gonna do it again, 6 plus 3. Okay. 6 plus 3 is 9. We did it 3 times during our shift, so 9 times 3. Right? 27. Don't forget your ice pop. So a total of 31 ounces for intake. Let's convert that real quick. Okay, so my intake is 930. Okay, my output is right here, 1 liter in milliliters. You can just look at your conversion sheet and it will tell you that it's 1,000. Okay, all right, last one. So we've got our last schedule again, 8, 2, 8, and 2, right? If I'm working a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., I don't have to worry about this or this. At 8 a.m., I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna give them 6 ounces plus 3 ounces, right? I'm gonna do it again at 2 p.m., 6 plus 3, right? Again, 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. right? So 18 ounces. Again, don't forget the ice pop. So +4. It's a total of 22 ounces. Figure that out in milliliters. Okay. So 660, right? My intake is 660. Output, nothing to calculate, just tells you already milliliters, so it's just 600. Okay. All right, now let's look at some labels. All right, so trade name, again, always big bold letters and always usually the top name, right? So we have Keflex. Generic name right below it in smaller letters, Cephalexin. Dosage strength, usually right in the center below the name, 250. Right? Form, capsule. And amount up here, there's 100 of them. Okay. Next one, again, trade name, brand name, top, bold, large, so Amoxil. Generic name right below it, amoxicillin. Dosage strength in this one is actually all the way up top, up here. And I do want you guys to get in the habit of writing the whole thing. So it's 250 milligrams per 5 ml. Not just 250 and not just 5. Okay. Our form is right here, suspension. Route is oral because it's an oral suspension, right? And amount is down here, the 80, and it's milliliter. Okay. The next one is Rocephin. Again, brand name, big bold, usually up top. Generic name is right below it. Ceftriaxone. Dosage strength is here 500, right? And then our route is right here in small letters, so IV/IM, right? No amount to list here because it's just a single use vial, so you just use up the whole vial and give the 500 right away. There's nothing, it's not a multi-use vial or something where we have to only use like half of the vial for a patient. Okay. Atropine. So this is like it's a mean label. I won't put it in the test, but there's actually no trade name, none. Your generic name is atropine. Your dose strength is 0.4 milligrams per milliliter, right? Form, liquid. For route, it can be either sub-Q, IV, or IM, right? I think for form, some of you like to write in injection, which is fine. I'll accept it. And then amount, 20 mils, right up here. Okay. All right, this label, again, kind of classic label, trade name Big Bold Glucophage. Generic name right below it, metformin. Dosage strength 500 milligrams. Your form is tablet. And then this label likes to be ironic. Your amount is also 500 tablets, right? 500 tablets here. This is the amount, right? And this is the dose. Don't confuse them. And then last but not least, again, classic label, so trade name. Generic name right below it. Dosage right here. Form, it's a tablet. And there's 100 of them. Okay. Easy peasy. I hope this helps. Good luck studying, and I'll see you guys at checkoff and then next week.